September 16th, 2024. Evening in Manhattan. Dice. Federal agents arrested Sean Diddy Combs at the Park Hyatt Hotel. The man who built Bad Boy Records, who discovered Biggie Smalls, who became one of the wealthiest figures in hip-hop, now faced federal charges. Sex trafficking, gout, racketeering, conspiracy to commit organized crime. The indictment detailed decades of alleged abuse, what prosecutors called a criminal enterprise, designed to satisfy his sexual desires through force, fraud, and coercion. Diddy was denied bail, taken to the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Deutsch Kai and Eves Tor. The judge cited flight risk and danger to the community. He remains there as of December 2024, awaiting trial scheduled for 2025. This case represents the fall of an empire, the reckoning for a man who once seemed untouchable. For decades, whispers circulated in the music industry about Diddy's behavior, about parties that went too far, about women who were mistreated, about a culture of abuse hidden behind wealth and power. But whispers don't bring charges. It took brave women coming forward. It took federal investigators building a case over years. It took a shift in how society treats powerful men accused of sexual violence. This is the story of Sean Combs, from his rise to the top of hip-hop to his arrest and federal prosecution. This is the story of Cassie Ventura, his ex-girlfriend, whose lawsuit opened the floodgates. This is the story of freak-offs, the disturbing parties prosecutors say were cover for sex trafficking. And this is a story that's still unfolding, with a trial that could result in life in prison. Sean John Combs was born November 4th, 1969, in Harlem, New York. His father was killed when Sean was just 2 years old. His mother worked multiple jobs to support the family. Sean grew up ambitious, hungry for success, determined to escape poverty. He attended Howard University, studying business, but left after 2 years when he got an internship at Uptown Records. He wasn't just an intern. He was relentless, working harder than anyone, learning the business, making connections. By age 22, he was an A&R executive, discovering talent, producing hits. But in 1993, he was fired from Uptown, so he started his own label. Bad Boy Records launched in 1993, and Sean Combs, who went by Puff Daddy then, quickly built an empire. He signed the notorious B.I.G., whose debut album became one of the greatest hip-hop records ever made. He signed Faith Evans, 112, Total, Maze, creating a roster of stars. Bad Boy dominated the 1990s, with hit after hit. With a distinctive sound that blended hip-hop and R&B, Puff Daddy himself became a star, releasing his own album in 1997, winning Grammys, appearing in films and television. He was more than a musician. He was a brand. He launched Sean John clothing, Sirok, Vodka, Kent, Revolt, TV Tournen. By the 2000s, he had rebranded as Diddy, and his net worth approached $1 billion. But success came with darkness. In 1999, Diddy was involved in a nightclub shooting in Manhattan that left 3 people injured. He was arrested and charged with weapons violations. His then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez was with him that night. The trial became a media circus. Diddy was ultimately acquitted in 2001, but his associate Shine was convicted and served nearly 9 years in prison. The case raised questions about Diddy's lifestyle, about violence, about what happened behind closed doors. But he survived the scandal. His career continued. His wealth grew, and the whispers about his behavior toward women continued too, though no charges ever came. Until decades later, when the walls finally began closing in. Cassie Ventura met Sean Combs in 25, when she was 19 years old and trying to launch a music career. Diddy was 37, one of the most powerful men in the industry. He signed her to Bad Boy Records. He produced her music. He became her mentor. And then, her boyfriend. Their relationship lasted over a decade, on and off. And according to Cassie, it was marked by horrific abuse, physical violence, sexual coercion, forced participation in what Diddy called freak-offs, drug-fueled sexual encounters with sex workers that Diddy orchestrated and recorded. Cassie says she was trapped, that Diddy controlled her career, her finances, her life, that leaving meant losing everything. On November 16, 2023, Cassie filed a lawsuit in federal court in Manhattan, alleging sex trafficking, rape, and years of physical abuse. The lawsuit detailed specific incidents: Diddy beating her in hotel rooms, forcing her to participate in freak-offs, plying her with drugs to make her compliant, threatening to destroy her career if she left. The allegations were explosive. The lawsuit named names, included dates, described a pattern of abuse spanning over a decade. Diddy's lawyer immediately denied everything, calling the lawsuit riddled with lies and a money grab. But one day later, on November 17, 2023, Diddy settled the lawsuit with Cassie. Terms weren't disclosed, but the speed of the settlement was telling. Cassie's lawsuit opened the floodgates. Within weeks, more women came forward with lawsuits alleging similar abuse. Joy Dickerson Neal sued, claiming Diddy drugged and raped her in 1991 when she was a college student. An anonymous woman sued, alleging gang rape by Diddy and others in 2003 when she was 17 years old. Liza Gardner sued, describing sexual assault in the 1990s. Dawn Richard, who sang with Danity Kane, sued alleging years of abuse, harassment, and witnessing Diddy's violence toward Cassie. Each lawsuit described similar patterns: control, coercion, violence, drugging, forced sexual acts, threats, and a system designed to keep victims silent. In March 2024, federal agents raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami, simultaneously executing search warrants as part of a sex trafficking investigation. Homeland Security investigations led the raids, which is significant because ISI handles human trafficking cases. Agents cites electronics, documents, evidence. Diddy was not arrested that day, but the raids signaled that this wasn't just civil lawsuits anymore. This was a federal criminal investigation. Prosecutors were building a case. They were interviewing witnesses. They were collecting evidence. And on September 16, 2024, they had enough to arrest him and bring charges that could send him to prison for the rest of his life. The federal indictment against Sean Combs, unsealed on September 17, 2024, contains 3 main charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation for purposes of prostitution. Let me break down what each charge means. Racketeering, under the RICO Act, means running a criminal enterprise. Prosecutors allege that Diddy's business empire, Bad Boy Records, his companies, his associates, functioned as a criminal organization designed to facilitate his abuse. That employees helped him, that they procured drugs and sex workers, that they covered up crimes, that they threatened and bribed victims into silence. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion is the most serious charge, carrying a possible life sentence. Prosecutors allege that Diddy used his wealth, power, and position to coerce women into commercial sex acts, that he transported women across state lines and internationally for the purpose of prostitution, that he forced women to participate in freak-offs, multi-day sex sessions involving drugs, sex workers, and recording equipment, that he used violence and threats to ensure compliance, that he created a trafficking operation hidden behind the veneer of luxury parties and consensual relationships, when in reality, women were being exploited, abused, and controlled. The indictment describes freak-offs in disturbing detail. According to prosecutors, Diddy would arrange these events at luxury hotels. He would drug women to keep them compliant and participating for days at a time. He would hire sex workers, often transported across state lines. He would record the encounters, allegedly to use as leverage and blackmail against participants. After these events, Diddy and victims would receive IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. Hotel staff would be paid to clean up the damage, broken furniture, stained bedding, evidence of violence. This wasn't consensual adult activity. Prosecutors argue this was trafficking and abuse disguised as partying. The indictment also details Diddy's methods of control and intimidation. Physical violence. Multiple witnesses describe being punched, kicked, dragged, thrown. Verbal and emotional abuse. Constant put-downs, threats, controlling behavior. Financial control. Diddy controlled victims' careers and money, making them dependent. Surveillance. Tracking victims' locations and communications. Intimidation. Using associates to threaten, harm, or silence anyone who might expose him. Isolation. Cutting victims off from friends and family. And witness tampering. The indictment alleges that even after lawsuits were filed, Diddy tried to contact and intimidate witnesses, which is why prosecutors argued he should be denied bail. Diddy pleaded not guilty to all charges. His lawyers argued that his relationship with Cassie was consensual, that their breakup was messy and she's lying for money, that freak-offs were just parties between consenting adults, that he's being targeted because he's rich and famous. They offered a $50 million bail package, including house arrest and surrendering his passport. But the judge denied bail twice, citing risk of flight and danger to witnesses. Prosecutors presented evidence of Diddy attempting to contact witnesses, of his history of violence, of the seriousness of the charges. He remains in federal custody, awaiting trial scheduled for May 2025. The prosecution's case is built on multiple sources of evidence, starting with the testimony of alleged victims. Cassie Ventura, though she settled her civil lawsuit, could be compelled to testify at the criminal trial. Other women who filed lawsuits could testify. Additional victims who haven't come forward publicly may testify. Prosecutors mentioned in court that they have interviewed dozens of witnesses, and the investigation is ongoing. Each victim's testimony will describe patterns, how Diddy targeted them, controlled them, abused them, and used his power to silence them. Patterns matter in racketeering cases because they show an enterprise, not isolated incidents. Physical evidence includes materials seized during the March 2024 raids. Electronics containing communications, videos, photos. Prosecutors have indicated they possess recordings of freak-offs, which could be shown at trial to demonstrate the coercive nature of these events. They have financial records showing payments to sex workers and victims, potentially demonstrating trafficking. They have travel records showing interstate and international transportation of women. They have hotel records documenting damage, IV fluid deliveries, and suspicious activity. And they have communications between Diddy and associates discussing procuring drugs and women, cleaning up evidence, and intimidating witnesses. Witness testimony will likely come not just from victims, but from Diddy's former employees, associates, and people in the music industry. The indictment alleges that Diddy's staff helped facilitate his crimes, booking hotel rooms, arranging travel, procuring drugs and sex workers, cleaning up crime scenes, delivering hush money, threatening witnesses. Some of these associates may have already cooperated with prosecutors in exchange for immunity or reduced charges. Their testimony could be devastating, providing insider accounts of how the criminal enterprise operated, who knew what, and how abuse was systematically covered up. The defense will argue consent. They will say that Cassie and other women were in relationships with Diddy, that they participated willingly in sexual activities, that any payments were gifts or business transactions, not trafficking. They will attack the credibility of witnesses, pointing to NDAs they signed, money they accepted, years they waited before coming forward. They will argue that this is a case of regret becoming accusations of people trying to get money from a rich man. They will portray Diddy as a victim of his own success, targeted because he's wealthy and famous. But the prosecution has a strong case. Multiple victims, physical evidence, witness testimony, and patterns of behavior spanning decades. The Diddy case represents more than one man's alleged crimes. It represents a reckoning in the music industry, particularly hip-hop, about how power has been abused and enabled. For decades, stories circulated about behavior at industry parties, about young women being exploited, about violence being covered up, about NDAs silencing victims. The industry protected its stars, prioritized profit over safety, and created environments where abuse could flourish. Diddy is not the first music mogul accused of such crimes. Think of R. Kelly, think of Dr. Luke, think of others. But Diddy's case is unique because of the scale, the federal charges, and the potential life sentence. The #MeToo movement changed how society responds to allegations of sexual abuse by powerful men. When Cassie filed her lawsuit in 2023, the cultural context was different than it would have been in 2003 or 2013. People are more likely to believe victims now. Prosecutors are more willing to bring charges against powerful men. The public is less tolerant of the boys will be boys excuse. And the legal system has tools like the RICO Act to prosecute not just individual crimes, but entire criminal enterprises. This cultural shift made it possible for victims to come forward, for prosecutors to build a case, and for Diddy to face accountability that once seemed impossible. The case has divided public opinion. Some people believe the accusations are true, that Diddy used his power to abuse women for decades, and that he deserves prison. Others believe he's being railroaded, that gold diggers are making up stories for money, that consensual relationships are being reframed as crimes. Some in the hip-hop community have defended him, citing his contributions to music and Black entrepreneurship. Others have called for accountability, saying that protecting abusers hurts the community more than exposing them. The trial will force a public confrontation with these questions. Do we believe women? Do we hold powerful men accountable? Is wealth and fame a shield, or should it be a magnifier for justice? If convicted, Diddy faces a mandatory minimum of 15 years in prison and a maximum of life. Given the evidence and the number of victims, a guilty verdict would likely result in a lengthy sentence. He would lose his empire. His wealth would be targeted for victim restitution. His legacy would be destroyed. But he maintains his innocence, and under our legal system, he is entitled to a trial. The jury will hear the evidence, listen to testimony, and decide whether prosecutors have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Sean Combs ran a criminal enterprise, trafficked women, and used his power to abuse for decades. The trial is scheduled for May 2025, and the world will be watching. This case matters beyond Diddy, beyond the music industry, beyond even the specific crimes alleged. It matters because it tests whether our society truly holds powerful men accountable. It matters because it asks whether we believe women who come forward with allegations against celebrities. It matters because it examines the systems that enable abuse, the associates who help, the NDAs that silence, the money that covers up. And it matters because the outcome will send a message, either that wealth and power can buy immunity, or that justice can reach even the most famous, most powerful, most protected men in America. This has been the story of Sean Diddy Combs, the hip-hop mogul who built Bad Boy Records, who became one of the wealthiest figures in music, and who now sits in federal detention, facing charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and running a criminal enterprise. The story of Cassie Ventura and the other brave women who came forward with allegations of abuse spanning decades. The story of freak-offs and coercion and violence hidden behind luxury and power. The story of a federal investigation that led to raids, arrest, and an indictment that could result in life in prison. And the story of a trial scheduled for 2025 that will force America to confront questions about power, abuse, celebrity, and justice. Sean Combs says he's innocent. The prosecutors say they can prove otherwise. A jury will decide.